The massive ship Telenara floated in the endless black space like a dying whale. Its metal hull, once shining silver, now showed dark patches where systems had failed. Inside the ship, the lights flickered on and off as the power slowly died. Commander Yansu walked through the quiet corridors. His footsteps echoed in the empty halls. The ship felt like a tomb. Behind him, Navigator Hannah followed with slow, tired steps. Her blue skin looked pale under the weak lights. "How many ships have we lost this week?" Yansu asked, without turning around. "3 more went dark yesterday," Hannah replied. Her voice was barely a whisper. "The Mortala, the Kefsen, and the smallest cargo ship. That makes 11 ships dead in total." Yansu stopped walking and closed his eyes. 11 ships. Thousands of his people, gone forever. They had died not in battle, but from the slow failure of their technology. It was a quiet, cold death. The 2 officers reached the bridge. Through the large windows, they could see the other Kethfer ships scattered across space. Some still had lights. Others were completely dark. The fleet that once conquered star systems now looked like floating. Chief Engineer Taman was bent over a control panel. His tools lay scattered around him. Sparks flew from broken wires. He looked up when the commander entered. "The quantum drive is completely dead," Taman said. "I have tried everything. We cannot restart it. We cannot jump to another star system. We are trapped here." Yansu nodded. He had expected this news, but it still felt like a punch to his stomach. Without the quantum drive, they could not fold space. They could not travel faster than light. The nearest star was too far away. Even if they flew for 1,000 years, they would never reach it. "What about the other ships?" he asked. "The same problem everywhere," Taman answered. "Our technology is too old. We have been running on emergency power for 3 years. The core systems are breaking down one by one. There is nothing left to repair them with." Hannah sat down at her navigation station. The star charts on her screen showed their position, a tiny dot in the vast emptiness between star systems. They were nowhere. They belonged to no place. "Do you remember when we left home?" she asked quietly. The children were so excited. They thought it was an adventure. Yansu remembered. 73 years ago, their homeworld had burned. An ancient weapon, left behind by some dead civilization, had awakened and destroyed everything. Cities turned to ash. Oceans boiled away. In just one day, 1 billion Kethfer had died. Only the space fleet had survived. 50,000 people packed into 12 great ships, fleeing into the unknown. They had searched for a new world, a new home. But space was cruel and empty. "Sir," a young officer called from across the bridge, "we are receiving reports from the civilian ships. Food supplies are running very low. The hydroponic gardens are failing. People are asking questions." What questions? Yansu knew what they wanted to ask. When would they find a new home? When would this nightmare end? When could their children run on grass instead of metal floors? He had no answers. "Call the Fleet Council," he ordered. "Emergency meeting in 1 hour." The council chamber was once a beautiful room. Now it was cold and dark. The holographic displays that should have shown star maps and ship status were broken. The 12 fleet captains sat around the metal table, their faces lit only by small emergency lights. Captain Desu spoke first. "My ship has 6 months of life support left. Maybe 7 if we reduce the air mixture, but people are already getting sick from the thin atmosphere. My engines failed completely this morning," reported Captain Minji. "We are flying on momentum only. If we need to change course, we cannot do it." One by one, the captains gave their reports. Every ship was dying. Every system was failing. The Kethber civilization was coming to an end in the cold space between stars. "We have one choice left," Yansu said when everyone had finished talking. "The stasis pods. We put everyone to sleep. The automated systems can keep us alive for maybe 50 years. If someone finds us." He did not finish the sentence. Everyone knew the truth. No one would find them. They were too far from any inhabited system. Space was too big, and they were too small. It is better than watching our people die awake, Captain Hanabi said. At least in stasis, they will dream. The vote was unanimous. 12 hands raised in the dim light. As the meeting ended, Yansu walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent wall, he could see the distant stars. They looked so close, but he knew each point of light was impossibly far away. The Kethfer had traveled between those stars once. Now they could not even reach the nearest one. In the lower decks, parents held their children close. The young ones did not understand why the grown-ups looked so sad. They played their games and asked when they would see a real sun again. Soon, Yansu thought. Soon you will all sleep, and maybe you will dream of green worlds and warm suns. Maybe in your dreams, we will find the home we lost. The great ships continued their slow drift through the darkness, carrying the last children of a dead world toward an uncertain fate. Dr. G1 sat alone in the control room of the Arecibo radio telescope. It was 3 in the morning, and the only sounds were the quiet hum of machines and the soft clicking of her keyboard. She had been listening to space for 12 years, searching for signals that might come from other worlds. Most nights were the same: static noise from distant galaxies, random bursts from dying stars. Nothing that suggested intelligent life existed anywhere else in the universe. But tonight felt different. She adjusted the big dish antenna and pointed it toward a dark patch of space between 2 star systems. Her coffee had gone cold hours ago, but she did not notice. Something was catching her attention in the radio waves. That's strange, she whispered to herself. The signal was very weak, but it had a pattern. It was not the random noise that came from natural sources in space. This signal repeated itself every few minutes, like someone was sending the same message, over and over again. G1 recorded the signal and played it back. Beep, 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 pause, beep, dash, beep, dash, beep, bash, beep, bash, beep, bash, beep. The pattern continued for several minutes, then started over. Her heart began to beat faster. She had heard patterns like this before in textbooks. The first group had 3 beeps. That was the number 3. The second group had 5 beeps. That was 5. The third group had 7 beeps. That was 7. 3, 5, 7. Prime numbers. No natural process in space could create prime numbers. Only intelligence could do that. G-1 reached for her phone with shaking hands. She called Dr. Minho, her research partner who lived 30 minutes away. Minho, you need to get here right now, she said when he answered. I think I found something. J1, it's 3 in the morning. Can't this wait until? No, it cannot wait. I'm receiving a signal with mathematical patterns, prime numbers. Someone is trying to communicate. The phone went quiet for a moment. Then Minho said, I'll be there in 20 minutes. When Minho arrived, G1 showed him the recordings. They sat together and listened to the strange beeping sounds coming from the darkness between stars. Minho was a specialist in signal analysis. His eyes grew wide as he studied the patterns. This is definitely artificial, he confirmed. But it's not coming from anywhere near Earth. The signal is very old by the time it reaches us. It traveled for months through space. They worked through the night, recording everything. As the hours passed, the signal became more complex. After the prime numbers, there were geometric sequences. Then there were patterns that looked like they might be star maps. We need help, G1 said, as the sun rose. This is bigger than we can handle alone. By noon, the research station was full of people. Linguist Dr. Soyoung had driven down from Seoul. Cryptographer Jae Hyun had flown in from Busan. Even government officials had arrived to see what the scientists had discovered. Dr. Soyoung was the first to make a breakthrough. She was an expert in how languages work, and she could see patterns that others missed. Look at this section, she said, pointing to a part of the signal. These bursts are too regular to be random. I think they're trying to show us their number system first, then their basic mathematics. It's like they're teaching us their language step by step. Jae-hyun worked on his computer, running the signal through decryption programs. I'm seeing what might be coordinates, he announced. Star positions, distances. If I'm right, they're telling us exactly where they are. The work continued for 3 days. The team barely slept. They ordered food to be delivered and worked around the clock. Slowly, piece by piece, they began to understand the message. It was not a greeting from a happy alien civilization. It was a distress call. The beings calling themselves the HFY were dying. Their homeworld was gone. Their ships were failing. They were lost in empty space, with no way to reach safety. The message contained their population numbers, 50,000 survivors. It showed their location, trapped between star systems where no rescue could reach them. They've been broadcasting this for months, Ji-won realized, getting weaker each time. Soon their transmitters will fail completely. The most heartbreaking part of the message was at the end. It was a simple plea, repeated in the mathematical language they had created. Please help. We are alone. We are afraid. Please help. Dr. Minho calculated the distances. They're 12 billion kilometers from the nearest star. Even with their advanced technology, they can't make that journey. They're stuck. The government officials looked worried. This was first contact with an alien species, but it was not the exciting discovery that movies had promised. Instead, it was a tragedy happening in slow motion across the vast emptiness of space. What can we do? Asked one of the officials. Our spacecraft can barely reach Mars. We have no way to help. Then Ji-won stared at the radio displays, still receiving the weak signal from the dying alien fleet. She thought about the 50,000 people out there in the dark, slowly running out of air and power and hope. We have to try, she said quietly. They reached out to us across impossible distances. The least we can do is try to answer. But, even as she said it, everyone in the room knew the truth. The aliens were too far away. Humanity's technology was too primitive. By the time any rescue mission could be organized, the signals would have stopped forever. The HFY would die, alone in the dark, and Earth would listen helplessly to their final transmissions, fading into silence. President Lee Seo-jun stood at the window of his office, looking down at the busy streets of Seoul. Cars moved like tiny ants below. People walked to work, bought coffee, lived their normal lives. None of them knew that humanity faced the biggest decision in its history. Behind him, the emergency cabinet meeting was getting louder. Voices argued back and forth across the long table. Charts and graphs covered the walls, showing technical details that seemed impossible to understand. The aliens are dying, said Dr. Ji-won, the radio astronomer, who had first heard their call. Every day we wait, more of their ships go dark. We received another transmission this morning. They've lost 15 ships now. Thousands of people are already dead. Defense Minister Park Jae-sung shook his head. We cannot risk human lives on an impossible mission. Our fastest ships take 6 months just to reach Jupiter. These aliens are light years away. It would take hundreds of years to get there with our current technology. That's not true, interrupted Dr. Woo Jin, from the Space Development Agency. We've been working on the numbers all week. If we build a completely new type of ship, with what? The finance minister demanded. The cost would bankrupt every nation on Earth. Dr. Woo Jin stood up and activated a holographic display. It showed Earth's orbital stations, the factories, research labs, and habitats that humans had built around their planet over the past 50 years. We strip everything, he said. Every orbital habitat, every space factory, every satellite we can spare. We take it all apart and use the materials to build one massive ship. The room went quiet. Everyone stared at the display showing humanity's achievements in space, all the work of decades that would have to be destroyed. "You're talking about setting back human space development by 50 years, said the science minister. "Those habitats house millions of people. Those factories produce medicine and technology we can't make on Earth." Chief Engineer Hyan Wu stepped forward. He was a small man with tired eyes, but his voice was strong. "The ship is possible. We've run the calculations. Take the fusion reactors from the Mars colonies. Use the metal from the asteroid mining stations. Build a torch ship 2 kilometers long that can sustain acceleration for 2 years. And the crew?" asked President Lee. 200 volunteers. They would have to fly at the edge of human endurance. Push the fusion drive beyond safe limits. There's maybe a 50% chance they would survive the journey. Foreign Minister Dayun looked pale. "You're asking us to destroy our space infrastructure and send 200 people on a suicide mission to save aliens we've never met?" "Yes," Dr. Ji-won said simply. "That's exactly what I'm asking." The argument continued for hours. Some officials said it was madness to risk so much for strangers. Others said humanity had a moral duty to help. The military worried about leaving Earth defenseless. The scientists talked about what they could learn from alien technology. During a break, President Lee walked onto the balcony. The city spread out below him looked so peaceful. Children played in parks. Families ate dinner together. Old people fed birds by the river. Normal life continuing, while the fate of 2 species was decided in this room. Dr. Ji-won joined him outside. "I know it seems impossible," she said, "but I've been listening to their transmissions for weeks now. They have children on those ships, families, people who love each other and want to live." "So do we," the president replied. "If this mission fails, we lose 200 of our best people and cripple our space program for generations. If we do nothing, we listen to 50,000 people die slowly over our radios." They stood in silence for a moment. A passenger plane flew overhead, carrying people to visit family in other countries. Such a simple thing, humans helping humans travel across their small world. The aliens included technical data in their transmissions, G1 continued. Their quantum drive technology, their energy systems, their life support, it's centuries ahead of ours. If we save them, and they share their knowledge, we do this because it's right, President Lee said firmly, not because of what we might gain. When they returned to the meeting room, the arguments were still continuing. The president sat down at the head of the table and waited for quiet. "I've made my decision," he announced. "We build the rescue ship." "Sir, the risks began, the defense minister, are acceptable," the president finished. "If we let these people die when we could have tried to save them, what does that say about humanity? What kind of species are we?" The vote was close, 7 in favor, 5 against. But it was enough. Within hours, the orders went out. Construction crews began dismantling orbital habitats. Engineers started designing the most ambitious spacecraft ever built. Volunteers lined up to join a mission that might never return. In shipyards around Earth, sparks began to fly as humanity prepared to risk everything for strangers among the stars. The Herald of Earth would be built from the bones of human civilization's greatest achievements, and somewhere in the darkness between star systems, alien transmissions grew weaker each day as the Kethver fleet waited for a miracle they did not know was coming. The die was cast. Humanity had chosen compassion over caution, hope over fear. Now all that remained was to see if their desperate gamble could reach across the void in time. Captain Genesio gripped the metal rails of his command chair as the Herald of Earth shook violently. The massive fusion engines at the back of the ship were running far beyond their safe limits, pushing the vessel through space faster than any human craft had ever traveled. "Engine temperature at critical levels," reported Engineer Bjorm from her station. Sweat ran down her face as she worked to keep the overheating reactors from exploding. We're burning through our fuel reserves faster than planned. How much time do we have? Genesio asked. At this rate, maybe 6 more months of full acceleration. After that, we coast on momentum. 6 months. They had been flying for 18 months already, and the alien fleet was still 3 months away. Every day was a gamble between speed and survival. The Herald of Earth was unlike any ship humans had ever built. 2 kilometers long and built from the salvaged remains of humanity's space stations. It looked more like a flying city than a spacecraft. The fusion torch at its rear burned like a small star, pushing 200 volunteers and enough supplies for 50,000 refugees across the impossible distances between stars. Communications Officer Sujin looked up from her radio equipment. I'm picking up new transmissions from the alien fleet. Captain, the signals are much weaker than before. Put it on speakers. The bridge filled with the strange musical language of the Kethver. Even through the static and distance, everyone could hear the desperation in the alien voices. Dr. Minho, who had joined the mission as the team's alien language expert, translated as he listened. They're reporting more ship failures. The Velterra lost all power yesterday. That's their 3rd largest vessel. They're starting to wake people from stasis pods because the life support systems are failing. Genesio closed his eyes. Waking people from emergency sleep meant the aliens were running out of options. They were choosing to let their people die awake rather than alone in artificial dreams. Sir, called Navigator Hanabai from her station, we're approaching the edge of known space. From here on, we're flying into regions no human has ever mapped. Through the main view screen, the stars looked different than they did from Earth. The constellations were strange shapes. The Milky Way galaxy stretched across the sky in directions that seemed wrong. They were truly far from home now. Long-range sensors are picking up metal signatures ahead, announced scanner operator Jamin. Multiple large objects. I think we found them. The bridge went silent, except for the hum of overworked machinery. After 18 months of flying through emptiness, they were finally approaching their destination. Reduce engine power to cruising speed, Genesio ordered. Prepare to establish communication. As the Herald slowed down, the alien fleet became visible on the screens. 12 ships of various sizes drifted in formation, but many were completely dark. No lights, no power signatures, no signs of life. The survivors clung together like a wounded animal seeking warmth. Open a channel to their lead ship, Genesio commanded. Sujin worked her controls. Channel open, sir. Genesio took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first conversation with an alien species. This is Captain Genesio, of the Earth vessel Herald. We received your distress call. We have come to help you. The response came several minutes later, transmitted across the void in heavily accented but recognizable Korean. The aliens had been studying human languages since detecting the rescue ship's approach weeks earlier. Captain Genesio, this is Commander Yansu, of the Kethver fleet. We did not believe anyone would come. Your species travels between stars to save people you have never met. Genesio looked around the bridge at his crew. Engineer Bjoram had worked for months without rest to keep their engines running. Navigator Hanabai had guided them through unknown space, using only mathematics and hope. Communications Officer Sujin had maintained contact with Earth until they were too far away for any signal to reach home. That's what people do, he replied. We take care of each other. But we are strangers to you. We are not even the same species. You called for help. We heard you. That makes us neighbors. Over the next few hours, the 2 fleets moved closer together. The humans could see the damage to the alien ship's hull breaches patched with metal plates, sections that had gone completely dark, debris clouds, where smaller vessels had finally broken apart. The largest Kethver ship, the Talanara, was still functional but barely. Through the view screen, Geneseo could see lights flickering inside its transparent sections. Alien figures moved slowly through corridors, their movements showing the exhaustion of people who had been dying for months. Commander Yansu, Geneseo called over the radio. "We're going to dock with your ship. Our engineers need to see your power systems. We think we can help." "Captain, your technology is so different from ours. I do not understand how." "We'll figure it out together," Geneseo interrupted. "Humans are very good at making impossible things work." As the Herald of Earth extended its docking arms toward the alien flagship, both crews prepared for the next phase of their desperate mission. The journey across space was over. Now came the harder task, saving 50,000 lives with whatever tools and hope they had left. In the cargo bays of the human ship, fusion reactors and repair equipment waited to attempt the impossible, bringing the dead alien fleet back to life. Navigator Hannah pressed her face against the observation window of the Telenara, watching something she had never thought possible. In the cargo bay below, humans and Kethfer worked side by side, their different hands holding the same tools, their different voices speaking the same goal. Dr. Hyenwu, the human engineer, was on his back under a massive quantum drive core. Blue sparks flew from his welding torch as he connected crude fusion power cables to the elegant alien machinery. It should not work. The technologies were completely different, but somehow it was working. "Your people are very stubborn," Hannah told him as he slid out from under the machine, his face covered in grease and sweat. "We prefer the word determined," Hyenwu grinned. "How does it look from up there?" Hannah checked the power readings on her display. For the first time in months, the numbers were going up instead of down. "The quantum matrix is stabilizing. Power flow is increasing. I think, I think you did it." In another part of the ship, Engineer Biorum worked with Kethfer technician Zelkin to design something neither species had imagined before. They were combining human fusion technology with alien gravitational systems, creating hybrid engines that could bend space while burning matter for fuel. "This should be impossible," Zalkin said, his blue fingers moving over the control panel. "Your fusion creates crude energy bursts. Our quantum systems need precise, smooth power." "Then we make the crude energy smooth," Biorum replied, adjusting a buffer system she had built from spare parts. "Sometimes impossible just means no one has tried hard enough yet." The first test came 3 days later. Commander Yansu and Captain Geneseo stood together on the bridge of the Telenara, watching the power displays climb toward operational levels. "Quantum drive charging," reported the alien navigator. "Energy levels at 30%, 40%, 50%. Everyone held their breath. The massive ship had been dead in space for months. If this failed, there would be no second chances. 70%, 80%. Quantum drive online. The ship hummed with life for the first time since the fleet had been stranded. Lights came on throughout the vessel. Air recyclers began working again. The artificial gravity generators powered up, and crew members who had been floating in zero gravity settled gently to the floors. Cheers erupted from both human and alien crew members. In the corridors, Kethfer families hugged each other and wept. Their children, who had never known anything but dying ships, laughed as they felt steady floors beneath their feet again. "One ship restored," Geneseo said. 11 more to go?" The work continued for weeks. Human engineering teams spread throughout the alien fleet, bringing their fusion reactors and impossible determination to each vessel. The Kethver shared their advanced knowledge freely, teaching humans about quantum mechanics and gravity manipulation that Earth scientists had only dreamed about. Dr. Minho found himself working with Kethver linguist Valana to create a combined database of both species. "Knowledge. Your mathematics are so elegant," he told her as they compared star charts. "You calculate in 11 dimensions, like we count to 10. But your problem-solving methods are amazing. Valana replied. You find solutions that our logical systems never consider. You think around problems instead of through them. The breakthrough came when young Kethver scientist Morkella showed human physicist Dr. Sojin how to fold space-time on a small scale. Within hours, the humans had figured out how to apply the technique to their fusion drives, creating propulsion systems that could push ships faster than light. We should test this slowly, Morkella warned. Space folding technology is very dangerous if not properly controlled. We'll be careful, Dr. Sojin promised. But we need to get your people to safety quickly. Every day we wait, more systems could fail. The test flight was scheduled for the smallest human shuttle. If something went wrong, they would lose only one small craft instead of an entire ship. Captain Genesio piloted the shuttle himself, with Kethver navigator Hannah as his guide. Engaging spacefold drive, Genesio announced over the radio. Space twisted around the tiny shuttle. Stars stretched into lines of light. Distance became meaningless. In less than 5 minutes, they had traveled 3 light-years farther than any human vessel had ever gone. It works. Genesio shouted into his communicator. The hybrid drive works. Within days, both fleets were equipped with the new technology. The journey to the habitable star system that had seemed impossible was now possible. Ships that had been dying in empty space were ready to carry their passengers to a new home. Commander Yuansu stood with Captain Genesio in the observation lounge of the Herald of Earth. Through the transparent walls, they could see the combined human Kethver fleet preparing for the final jump. Children of both species played together in the corridors, chattering in a mixture of Korean and Kethver that somehow made perfect sense. Your people saved us, Yansu said quietly, but we have given you something in return. Knowledge that will let humans travel between stars as easily as you once traveled between cities. We both won, Genesio replied. You taught us that the universe is not empty. We taught you that strangers can become family. The fleet engaged their hybrid drives together, disappearing in a flash of twisted light. Behind them, empty space held only the memory of their passage and the promise that 2 species had found each other in the dark. They were going home, not to the worlds they had lost, but to the world they would build together.